All right, let's cut the crap and get right into this anthropology shit.
You ready to dive into the weird world of humans?
Fuck yeah, hit me with it.
It's about understanding this whole human circus, from our biology to all those crazy cultures.
So it's like figuring out why we're all so fucked up.
Pretty much. And the cool thing is, anthropologists have these four main ways of tackling that question.
Okay, lay it on me. What are these four tools they use?
First, you've got sociocultural anthropology.
Sociocultural, sounds fancy.
It is pretty juicy, actually, because it's all about how people interact and create meaning out of their lives.
So like why some cultures are obsessed with family and others are like every man for himself.
Exactly, or why some groups think eating bugs is normal and others are like, hell no, that's disgusting.
Speaking of wild, you mentioned digging up bones earlier.
You're talking about biological anthropology.
That's the whole evolution thing, right? Like where the hell did we even come from?
Bingo, it's like a time machine, tracing our lineage back to those hairy ape ancestors.
Wait, so they're hanging out with monkeys to figure us out? That's kind of insulting.
It's more than just monkey business.
Sure.
One crazy thing is that chimpanzees, our closest relatives, actually wage war.
Damn. So we're not that special after all. Just a bunch of apes with iPhones.
Pretty much.
Okay, what's next? What other tools do they have?
You've got archaeology.
It's Indiana Jones type shit.
Kind of, but less whip cracking and more painstakingly documenting everything.
Sounds like a snooze fest.
It's actually pretty exciting.
Okay.
Like the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Archaeologists use that to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs.
So it's like cracking a code from a lost world.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got the society stuff, the biology stuff, the digging up the past stuff. What's the fourth?
That would be linguistic anthropology.
Okay, so like languages.
More than that, it's about how language shapes the way we think and interact.
So like how some cultures have words for things that other cultures don't even have concepts for.
Precise.
That's wild.
Or how the way you speak can reveal your social status, where you're from, even your gender.
Damn, language is powerful shit.
It really is.
Makes you wonder if our vocabulary is like controlling our thoughts.
That's a question that keeps linguistic anthropologists up at night.
Okay, so we've got our four fields, the social stuff, the biological stuff, the digging stuff, and the language stuff.
Right.
But isn't anthropology also known for being, well, ethically kind of shady?
Yeah, it's had its share of scandals and controversies.
Like what?
Well, for a long time, anthropologists were mostly Western dudes going into indigenous communities and treating them like lab rats.
Talk about a power trip.
It's a dark chapter, for sure, but thankfully, things have changed.
Oh, so they're like woke now.
Modern anthropologists are way more aware of their biases and the potential harm their research can cause.
So they're not just handing out apologies.
It's more than just saying sorry, they've actually developed ethical guidelines.
Like making sure they get consent from the people they're interviewing.
Exactly. It's about shifting the power dynamic.
Okay, but anthropology still gets accused of being colonial, right? Like it's still Westerners studying the other.
That's a valid criticism and something the field is actively working on.
So less us studying them and more let's learn from each other.
You got it.
Okay, I can get behind that. But even if they're trying to be more ethical, there's still that cultural relativism thing.
Yes, cultural relativism.
That whole who are we to judge other cultures thing.
It's the idea that we shouldn't judge other cultures based on our own values and beliefs.
Okay, I get that in theory. But what about when those practices are seriously messed up? Like cannibalism.
That's where things get complicated.
Right.
Cultural relativism doesn't mean we have to condone everything.
There's more about understanding than judging.
Exactly, trying to see the world through different lenses.
Okay, I could dig that. But this whole cultural relativism thing seems like a slippery slope. Like, where do you draw the line?
That's the million-dollar question, and something anthropologists are constantly debating.
Well, it sounds like anthropology is full of these mind-bending dilemmas. But I guess that's what makes it so interesting, right? It forces us to confront the complexities of human nature.
You said it.
All right, that's a good place to wrap up part one of our deep dive into anthropology.
We've covered a lot, the four fields, ethics, and the whole cultural relativism conundrum.
You've given you a taste. Now it's your turn to dig deeper.
And see what you unearth.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll unpack some of the most mind-blowing discoveries and controversial debates in anthropology.
So ready to jump back into this anthropological shitstorm?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
We left off talking about cultural relativism and all that. But what I really want to know is what kind of crazy shit anthropologists have dug up about human behavior.
Oh man, where do I even begin? Anthropology is full of these mind-blowing discoveries that totally fuck with your ideas about what's normal.
Hit me with it. What's the weirdest shit you've learned?
Okay, for starters, there's this tribe in Papua New Guinea, the Four people.
Group of people, okay.
They used to practice this ritualistic cannibalism. Cannibalism. Like eating people.
Yeah, they'd eat the brains of their dead relatives.
Brains. That's messed up. Why the hell do they do that?
They believed it honored their loved ones, kept their spirits alive. It's a prime example of how different cultures can have totally different ideas about death.
Okay, I'm officially creeped out.
Yeah.
But it does make you think about how much of what we consider normal is just, like, cultural programming.
Exactly. Take romantic love.
Right.
We think it's universal, the basis for marriage.
Yeah.
But in many cultures, marriage is more about economics or politics. Romantic love is, like, a side dish.
So all that love conquers all bullshit is just a Western fairy tale.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And even the way we experience romantic love is shaped by our culture.
Like how so?
The idea of falling head over heels is relatively new. It's not a thing everywhere.
So love is a social construct. What else have anthropologists debunked?
Well, there's that whole nature versus nurture debate.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
For a long time, science was all about biology being destiny.
You know, boys will be boys, all that crap.
But anthropologists started studying cultures with totally different gender roles.
Like where women were the warriors.
Exactly. They showed that gender isn't just about biology, it's also about culture and what we decide certain behaviors mean.
So gender is a spectrum, not a binary. And anthropology helped prove that.
Big time. It's not just gender. Anthropologists have challenged our ideas about everything, from beauty standards to family to intelligence.
Okay, so anthropology is good for blowing our minds.
Yeah,
But can it actually do anything useful?
for sure. There's applied anthropology.
Apply.
They take anthropological insights and use them to solve real-world problems.
So it's like taking all that heady theory and actually doing something with it?
Exactly.
Give me an example.
Medical anthropologists work with doctors to improve communication between them and patients from different cultures.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
You don't want a doctor screwing up treatment because they don't understand their patient's beliefs.
Right. Or they might study the cultural factors behind things like obesity or HIV and help create better public health programs.
So anthropology can actually save lives.
It can also help businesses understand consumer behavior, design products that make sense for different cultures, and navigate international markets.
Damn, anthropology is more useful than I thought. But let's be real, it's still pretty niche. Most people probably don't even know what it is.
True. But I think everyone can benefit from thinking anthropologically, even if they've never taken a class.
What do you mean?
It teaches us to be more open-minded, to question what we think we know, and to appreciate the diversity of human experience.
Okay, I can get behind that.
It's about understanding ourselves and where we fit in the world.
All right, I think we've officially blown our listeners' minds with all this anthropological goodness.
From cannibalism to gender to practical applications, it's been a wild ride.
Okay, so we've gone through the 4 fields of anthropology, saw some pretty freaky cultural practices, and even found out that anthropology can be useful in the real world. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the dark side of this whole thing.
Yeah, the controversial and ethical stuff. Because anthropology has a pretty messed up history when it comes to how it treated the people it studied.
Yeah, like those Western dudes treating other cultures like lab rats. Not exactly their proudest moment.
Definitely not. And even though the field has evolved ethically, there are still some sticky issues.
Like what? Spill the tea on the biggest controversies and ethical dilemmas.
One of the biggest is objectivity. Is it even possible for an anthropologist to be truly objective when studying another culture?
Because everyone has their own baggage, right? Their values, their experiences, their whole worldview.
Exactly. And that can really affect how you interpret data, how you write about the culture, and how that culture is seen by the world.
Makes sense. So what's the solution? Are anthropologists just doomed to be biased?
No one's saying they're perfect. The key is being aware of your biases and being upfront about them in your research. Also, being open to different viewpoints and challenging your own assumptions.
So more self-awareness, less arrogance.
Pretty much. And another important thing is getting feedback from the people you're studying. Like, hey, does this seem right? Am I missing something?
Yeah, it seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many researchers in the past just took what they wanted and left without even asking for the community's input.
That's why collaborative research is becoming more popular. It's about working with communities, not just studying them.
Okay, more collaboration, less exploitation. Got it. But what about cultural relativism? Doesn't that make it hard to call out bullshit sometimes?
That's the tightrope anthropologists walk. On one hand, you want to respect other cultures and not force your values on them. On the other hand, there are some practices that are just wrong, regardless of culture.
Like, I get that different cultures have different ideas about right and wrong, but there have to be some universal moral principles, right? Like, torturing people is bad, no matter where you're from.
That's the debate. Where do you draw the line between cultural relativism and basic human rights?
Tough question. But I guess that's what makes anthropology so interesting. It makes us wrestle with these big, complicated questions about morality, culture, and what it means to be human.
Exactly. It's not always easy, but it definitely makes you think. And in the end, that's what makes anthropology so valuable. It pushes us to broaden our understanding of the world and to confront our own biases.
Well said. So we've gone deep into the world of anthropology. We've explored its four fields, uncovered some mind-blowing facts about human behavior, and even tackled some of the ethical dilemmas.
It's been a wild ride, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of human cultures and the importance of studying them with both curiosity and a critical eye.
And if nothing else, you've got some killer stories to tell at your next party.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a good cannibalism story?
Just remember to be respectful and maybe skip the cannibalism part at your next social gathering.
Yeah, good point. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our anthropological adventure. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring the fascinating world of human cultures.